TikTok, it's time to rock. My name is Andrew. I've found him. I'm not talking about the Eddie doll. I'm talking about Brad Cook. We've found Brad Cook. And Brad Cook's found something that's probably more important than finding us or us finding him. But, but bro, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. You and I are flying co-pilot and pilot today, so we have to do a special shout-out to the Rock Professor who's getting, my gosh, some beauty sleep. He's got a busy weekend, bro, so he needs his beauty sleep. He's ditched us for sleep.
Mate, that's fine. Look, it's not normally his time slot anyway, and it's we know the Rock Professor's got a lot on his plate, so it's juggling. He's juggling a lot of things, a lot of balls in the air, so.
Well, he's got to cover for you tomorrow because you're ditching us again tomorrow. So we're lucky, bro. We're going to get Jim. Jim's going to come in and fly in the Brad cockpit with us. He did a good job last week, bro. He did a good job. I think he had a bit of fun, and yeah. So while I'm not going to tell people what you're doing. You can tell us what's happening.
Oh, I'm taking a bit of a holiday. Let's just say that I've got a secret location that my lovely lady has organised for me. So it's why not? It was last minute, and we've both been working very hard and a lot of stress going on at the moment, just because of the complexity of the world, the way it is at the moment and stuff. And we just thought, you know what, we need a breather. I know we only had a holiday at Christmas and that, but mate, this first few months of this year have been very taxing. So getting back into gigging and getting road fit, everything's just taken a bit of a toll. So we thought a bit of a breather, refresher, brain cells will be all good, and I'll be back next Sunday.
Mate, we're happy to hear that. We're happy to hear that you're going to have a break because that's important. That's one of the cool things that we always said, wasn't it, bro? When we got together and we decided that we were going to do the show, that family, work and personal life is always going to take a priority. We're just lucky though that we've got a couple of options up our sleeves, bro. I certainly look forward to next week when you and I and the Rock Professor can sit back together. We can get some people onto the show and celebrate our achievement, bro. So what are we going to celebrate when you get back, brother?
1,000 subs, guys. So everyone in the chat and everyone that's watching this later on, thank you so much. It feels good that we got there, our 1,000 subs. We're not going to celebrate it right this second, like Andrew said. Next Sunday, we're going to have an actual show to celebrate. So we'll make sure we definitely stay over 1,000 for a week.
Yeah. And look, Brad's right. We'll get together and hang out with everybody. And if anybody is watching this show that wants to get a link to come in and hang out with us for 5 or 10 minutes and join us on that show, please do. We'll give you a link. We'll have you in here. And because as Brad said, to us a couple of weeks ago, when he got out and met with John ZD351, and he said, this is a community. This is a channel that belongs to a lot of people. And I mean that because without the people that have supported us, and you all know who you are, especially, you know who you are, the ones that have pushed a lot of the membership subs and drives for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better, Andrew. I mean, look, we're 1,000 subs. It's been a goal, so we've hit that. So now let's just bring on 2,000 now. Let's just keep going. We've got a lot to offer, and we've only just begun, guys. We've only just started, so but it feels great to have reached that 1,000 landmark, which we set for this year. So we've already hit it, Andrew. So congratulations, mate.
Yeah, and it's inch by inch, it's millimeter by millimeter. When Brad came onto the channel, it was the Rock Professor and I basically doing some weekly shows. Brad came on, took us up to another level, brought in a caliber that refreshed and gave us a bit of vibrancy that we needed. The perspective that Brad has as a gigging musician, his personality, his charm, his good looks, just gave us the drive that we wanted. And we've had a couple of other good co-hosts join us over that period of time too. We had Steve Anderson on the first 5150 shows. Kurt jumped on and gave us a hand, and we got some subs from those people. And we've got to give credit to the people in the chat pushing our brand, pushing what we want to do, and we look forward to coming back and just offering our perspective on music and bands, albums. I look forward to it, bro.
Yeah, 100%. And you couldn't have said it any better. And thank you, Andrew, as well for the kind words, mate. I'm chuffed. I'm still Roddy Wood, mate. I'm still Roddy Wood.
Yeah, you're still the new boy on the block, but no, we do look forward to the party show. But guys, we've got Fruitcake Tony in the chat, who had a great show a couple of days ago. Go and check Fruitcake Tony's channel out, guys. Subscribe to him. He's got a couple of great guys that are close to him over there. So we're about helping and sharing. So take advantage of your business contacts. Get them to subscribe to your channels too, guys, if you want to build your channel, because that was something that I probably never thought of. And by asking some of my business contacts, bro, the channel grew, And also, bro, the Zoso show, doing those Zoso shows brought in a lot of subs. So that was fortuitous, I think, is the word.
Yeah, well, we're going to be doing more of those too, Andrew. Those Zoso shows. So we've definitely got some wonderful things coming up. I've got a few ideas for that. I'm going to run them by you later. Not on air. We'll keep it a secret.
Awesome. Hey, bro, well, before we get into the subject of this show, guys, we also got a lot of subscribers from having these guys. The Rock Professor and I were fortunate to interview Jeff and Bob, who are the authors of a new upcoming book on Peter Green and Fleetwood Mac due in October. So, guys, go and check that link out. I'll attach the link to that book. Go and check it out. Those guys were there during the day, and Peter Green and Fleetwood Mac, huge influence on the guy that we're going to talk about today. So who are we talking about, bro?
Well, the weeks have sort of skipped past, and one of my, biggest influences on guitar, Gary Moore, was his birthday on April the 4th. And I just thought, look, we don't really speak enough about him on this show. And I know we've still got the blues record and Blues for Greeny, and we've done a few things, but, we've got to give credit where credit's due. Such an amazing musician, instrumentalist, singer, guitarist, songwriter, whatever. Once he hit his blues sort of landmark album, Still Got the Blues record, it became his biggest selling record. And he was just, as far as I'm concerned, obviously he's still trying to, he spent his whole career just changing himself around to try and fit. But I think once he hit the blues, it was just what he was meant to be doing, even though he had reservations for it, But I just thought it'd be a great opportunity to catch up with you, everyone on the show here that I haven't been on last week and stuff like that. So I thought, let's talk about Gary, because I think he deserves it.
Oh, look, I agree with you. And I'm glad that you mentioned those shows that we've done. We've done Blues for Greeny, Still Got the Blues, and we did Blackmore, BB.
Yeah, it's the one that you always forget. It's the BBM record. So
BB.
It's, Baker, Bruce, and Moore. But yeah, we did that as well. And obviously such a great album that as well. So go and check those out. Maybe we can link them into the topic or the comments here, Andrew, after the show.
Yeah, definitely, bro. We'll definitely do that. And we always said, though, that we would come back and do a lot more on Gary Moore, because, as Brad said, Gary Moore's a huge influence on the music that this channel follows. On myself, we know that the Rock Professor has a strong affection for Gary. You know, that album, tribute album that Gary did for Jimi Hendrix. We haven't even done that, bro. You know, there's a lot of stuff there. His compilation albums, the
Yeah,
album that came out last year. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. No, he's done a hell of a lot of things, like in his solo career. He's done collabs. He's done a lot of stuff. He did, obviously, his first band, like Skid Row, where he met Phil Lynott, and then
Yep.
obviously Thin Lizzy.
Yep.
But for me, I mean, I love all that, and I can listen to all that stuff and love it just as much, because obviously when you sort of, one of your heroes becomes like someone like, we talk about Eddie Van Halen, like Gary Moore's in that league for me as well. So anything he's done or touched, I love. I just think he's got the golden touch. But the minute he did Still Got the Blues in 1990, that was a massive turning point for him. And that was around the time I was getting into playing guitar and things like that. So for me, it's a landmark album for me, and massively inspirational.
I'm glad you said that, because there's a couple of things that I want to shout out to you, and also the cats in the chat too, if they want. So I know where you situate Gary Moore, but I won't spoil that for anybody who's not familiar with where you situate him. But guys in the chat and girls, is Gary Moore in your top 3, top 5, or top 10 rock or blues guitarists? Brad, where do you situate Gary Moore in groups? Because we love making groups, because we know that the group you make today changes tomorrow. So,
look, I couldn't do a top 3, but definitely in my top 5, without a doubt. He's one of the reasons I play a Les Paul. He's one of the reasons that I love the blues so much. Getting into Gary Moore helped me identify blues music, and going backwards from there as well. Like Stevie Ray Vaughan was the same, but Gary Moore, Still Got the Blues came out around the time I was picking up a guitar and getting into it. You know what I mean? And really giving it a good hard go on guitar. So Stevie Ray Vaughan was a little bit before that for me, like the whole Stevie Ray Vaughan thing, through the 80s and that. I sort of come back to that as well. But actually hearing Gary Moore play the blues was, that iconic Still Got the Blues song was all over the radio here in Australia, especially I was living in Perth, WA at the time, and that's all I heard. Every second hour I'd hear that song on the radio, and it's just infectious, that guitar line, the singing, the melody. That's beautiful. It's a well-written song. But then I got the record and I listened to it, and Too Tired and all these other songs on there that were just it was like, what do you call it? I could hear Albert Collins in his playing. I could hear Stevie Ray Vaughan. I could hear Peter Green, but I could hear Gary Moore. It was like you could define his playing through it. Not many people play like Gary Moore. So.
Look, absolutely. We haven't done a shout out yet, but I just want to do a special little shout out to Steve-O, 12 Snyder in the chat. Hey, Steve-O, thanks for joining us, brother. Good to see you. Look, I'm amazed you said that about the lead single off that album, because it was everywhere here too, bro. It was, and it became quickly, with my circle of friends, an identifiable song. It was one of those songs, Brad, that just had a tone, and you knew straight away that this was Gary Moore. So we had to, like you, had to run out and get this album, because I'm going to be honest and upfront with you. I never followed a lot of Gary Moore until this album came out. I knew, like in the mid or early 80s, Run to the Fields was a huge song, so we all knew that. I knew who he was. I heard some of the songs of Thin Lizzy and stuff like that, but I never considered him like an echelon guitarist, Brad, until that album came out, and that's when I went, yeah, this guy's got it, bro.
Yeah. Well, look, he's playing alone. His vibrato, I don't think anyone has the same vibrato that Gary Moore has. If they do, please tell me in the chat and I'll check them out because I love Gary's vibrato. He's got such emotion with the way he plays. But his tone, I rushed out. I bought a Les Paul. I bought a Marshall Governor pedal, which is what Gary used on the blues, on the Still Got the Blues record. I had a Marshall. So I just tried so hard to get that tone. And obviously, you realize that it's all Gary, the guitars and whatnot are a big part of it. But Gary's playing was just ferocious. His playing is ferocious on that record. It's I don't think there's any real blues players out there that play like Gary. And I think, knowing his backstory and I didn't appreciate his work before the blues record came out, but going backwards is when I've actually started to appreciate it more.
Yeah. Like me too, bro. And I think one of the great things about Gary, when you talk to other guitar players and music fans over the years, he has that grit, doesn't he? He has that edginess, that iciness to his tone that people either like or don't, because I've met some people that go, it's too edgy, too icy, and I'm going, I try to convert people, I try to convert them, because I think the problem with a lot of people is that they don't listen to the albums. It's, you can listen to one song, that's going to track you and pull you in, but when you go and listen to this album and the blues albums that he's done after this, it's like, my gosh, this guy has got it. And he always loved the blues. He loved Eric Clapton. He loved that Beano album when it came out, bro. He knew this stuff. He knew Fleetwood Mac. He was playing this stuff, bro, when he was a young cat.
100%. And, I know that for a fact that when he was recording Still Got the Blues, he got he got a little bit nervous and wanted to pull out of doing it. But bass player Bob Daisley told him he's got to keep going with it. And then he sort of got a bit more confidence that he was doing the right thing. But he was a bit frightened to just go back to his roots and just do a blues record, because he was obviously trying to make it in the pop world, the rock world, the metal world. He was trying all these different things. But he just felt like he was losing himself. Everyone wanted to worry about the lights, the stage, the this, the that, and he just wanted to play blues. So him going back to the blues, yeah.
But also, bro, when I was just thinking about a couple of things this afternoon in preparation for our show, I'm going to say this, a groundbreaker, because, Clapton's blues album came out in 94, 90, his acoustic album, well into the mid 90s, or early 90s. This album came out in 1990, bro, so, a bit of a groundbreaker, pathfinder.
100%. And all of his records from that, like the blues records he did and released after that, but the live stuff, absolutely. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. I bought Blues Alive on VHS.
Yeah.
And that's the gig where BB King gets up with him and whatnot. So it's in a small club, and he's wearing a red jacket, and he starts off, Cold Day in Hell, and it's just like screaming with that Soldano and Blues Breaker amps and the Les Paul. It's just, and he's throwing his whole body into every note he's playing. It's just remarkable to watch him play that stuff with the horn section, the drum and bass and keyboard player are very locked in, but very traditional sounding, and he's just screaming this scorching red hot blues playing over the top, and his voice is just sensational in that. So you can really see he's at home on that stage playing blues. He was. I keep talking about him as a present moment. I know he's past, but he was larger than life on stage, and I just wish I had been able to see him play and perform live at least once. That would have been something that I feel like I've missed out on as a musician, to not experience Gary Moore playing live.
Yeah, me too, bro.
Yeah.
But, me too. I would love to have seen him live. But the great thing, though, that you said in the green room is that, all the stuff now is available on YouTube, so we at least get a taste of how he played. But look, I think the point that you made about his technique, because this guy, when you watch him play, boy, he can attack that guitar. It's like he's picking that guitar up, but then he's got that gentle touch. He's just got, he can just back that volume back, bro, and he just makes it sing. And he's one of the few guitarists that I don't mind watching the facial expressions because he can't help himself, but it's almost as if he's singing when he's playing. It's I love it.
I was going to say the facial expressions. It just goes to show how much he was into what he was
Yeah.
doing, and he was lost in what he was playing. And I think that's good players. They don't think about what they're trying to look like when they're actually playing. And from a non-musician perspective, people probably look and go, "Look at this guy. What's he doing?" Like John Mayer, he looks like he's constipated while he's playing and stuff like that. But there's just something quite unique about those sort of guys that throw himself into the music. It's the opposite was Ed Van Halen, always smiling, always looking, like he's enjoying what he's playing. Gary looked like he was playing like his life depended on it. And I mean that for me, I love that. I love both things. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but Gary, there's live performances have still got the blues, and he's throwing himself, his body backwards and forwards on those last sort of notes, right in the last solo, just to make them, he's feeling that. So in my opinion, he's just basically giving everything he's got. He's got nothing left to give. You feel like that one performance I said, Blues Alive, where he's playing, and he's like, there's one song on there called Separate Ways, and it's got a little guitar piece at the start before it comes into the song. It's just mesmerizing, and I can imagine how electric that's. The feeling being in a room while he was doing that you would have got lost. You would have forgot where you were completely. And I'm going to later on, I'll attach the links to those in the comments so people can go and check out what we're talking about.
Awesome. The Blues Corner, new to the chat. So thank you, Blues Corner, for joining us. New sub. Thank you. Look, no one's going to argue with you. He's got a comment here. He was the best guitar player of all time. So I know that Brad Cook's going to certainly nod in agreement with that
yes.
kind of comment.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. I agree with you, bro. I think one of the great things about Gary Moore is his ability to help people go backwards. So when you discovered him in 1990 and you were getting like caught up into this album, Brad, that he had, how long did it take for you to go back and backtrack and go and listen to his back catalogue? Was that something you were doing immediately because you had to do it?
Pretty much. I was pulling into every CD store and whatnot around town, trying to chase up all the stuff that Gary played on, and that I'd be pleasantly surprised when I'd hear certain things with Gary playing on it or whatever. But I fell in love with Gary's blues playing the most, and that that to me is where I can hear Gary's actually being himself in it. Not saying that he's not being himself in his solo career before that, or in Thin Lizzy, or Skid Row, or any of the collabs he did and stuff like that. And everyone wanted Gary to play in their bands. Even Ozzy Osbourne. There's a couple of songs that he's played with Ozzy Osbourne, and they're fantastic. But they missed the mark a little bit because it's not exactly what Gary wanted to be doing. And it's funny, Gary wanted to change around a lot. He got a success from playing blues, and then he threw a spanner in the works and started doing a couple of different things, and realized that he needed to go back to the blues. So he went back to the blues again. One of the exciting albums that came out for me, I think it was around 2002, was an album he did called Scars with Cass Lewis and Darren Mooney. If you're aware of Skunk and Nancy, Cass Lewis was the bass player in that. And I've always liked Skunk and Nancy because of that rhythm section was just infectious. So to actually listen to that Scars record, I could hear heavy blues, heavy Hendrix references in his playing, and you could hear the Strat. And I mean, the one downside, unfortunately, I think his production of the records, as he got closer to his death, started to sound a little bit more demo-y for my liking. But that, I'm not going to take away from what he achieved and what he played on those records. They were fantastic. It just, from a production point of view, I think, you go from an album like Still Got the Blues, it's hard to, and After Hours and Back to the Blues, and all those records started to sound like they were more done on a Pro Tools session than a recording, if that makes sense. And that's just being super critical, though. That's super critical. But his guitar playing was just sensational,
Yeah,
unbelievable. That
yeah. I
Scars
think one of the
record, I must have wore that Scars record out. That song Rectify. I used to sit and play along to that on my guitar and go, God damn, I wish I could write a song like this.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about the catalog that he has, I don't disagree with you about that Pro Tools argument.
Mm,
But
yeah,
that album that he came out, Old New Ballads Blues,
yeah.
great album. Go and check that out. One day soon this year, the British Electric Blues show will go through and we'll rank that album, because that gives another side to the dimensions that Gary Moore has as a Brad, more than just a guitar player, as a musician, isn't he?
100%. One of the ones that I loved, Andrew, that came out was Back to the Blues. Now, that was a kick-ass blues record. It's the one where he's sitting with the 355 on the cover. It's just on a railway sort of line or something like that. It's a sensational record. There's
Fantastic.
some fantastic versions of songs on there. So that's a really good one as well. But as it was Gary's birthday, I thought it's really good to talk about him and highlight his ability, what he did for the blues music as well. I mean, he sucked in a lot of rock heads, like people that were, hard rockers, and to discover the blues, and discovering the blues when you're predominantly a metal musician, it opens up a whole new world for you, because you're hearing space, you're hearing feeling, emotion. Some people like it, some people don't gravitate towards it. But a lot of my friends at the time, Andrew, were really big into Metallica and Guns N' Roses and metal bands like Iron Maiden and a lot of bands like at that particular time. And they were getting into bands like Pantera and things like that. And I go, but check this guy out. And I'd throw and Still Got the Blues record. And they were guitar players, and they'd be like, what the hell? And they rushed out and bought the album, because of
Yep.
there's just something about it that they associated with what they do, fast playing and things like that. But it opened up a whole new world of melodies and things like that, because the way Gary plays is very melodic. He's a melodic blues player.
I'm glad you mentioned Back to the Blues, because his version of Stormy Monday is one of the best. So
Oh,
again, I hate to say this, but I look forward to doing that album.
yeah. No, I agree. That's a killer version of that song. It is probably one of my favorite versions of that song, without a doubt. And what's the other one? I love the way that the album starts. Enough of the blues. Just there's something pure about that, the way he did it. But Stormy Monday, that's great. Such a great album. It's worth checking out if you haven't. Such a great album.
Yeah. I do look forward to checking those albums out with you and the Rock Professor, and maybe we might even get a couple of guests, hosts with us. Derek Clacton's rated Gary as his number 2 all-time guitarist behind Clapton. So, Derek, if you
Wow.
ever want to jump on and do a show with us, you're more than welcome. But
Yeah.
look, bro, I agree with you. I think he's certainly in my top 10 guitar players. I just think it's fascinating to listen to him.
Mm.
His Blues for Greeny has been on my permanent playlist for years. I was
Mhm.
so excited to know that this album was coming out in '95. I was excited because I was going through a Fleetwood Mac phase at that stage, and then oh my gosh, Gary Moore's going to go and do, and nobody that I was talking to thought that he was going to cock this album up. Everybody knew that whatever he was going to do was going to be great. It was like, wow, we have to get this. And I have
Yeah.
to tell you, bro, we weren't disappointed.
No, well, I got that live performance on VHS as well, and I think I wore that out. It was just fantastic. But the After Hours album, which is the one that came out 2 years after Still Got the Blues, is a fantastic record as well. The Since I Met You, Baby with BB King on it,
Yeah,
Separate Ways, Key to Love, Jumping at Shadows, just the blues is all right. Just and the opening track, "Cold Day in Hell," it just screams. It's like dun, 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 just the way it's so good. You can't. I get excited listening to that opening track, and it's just sensational. I actually did purchase the live record, Blues Alive, as well, around that time, and I have to say, Parisian Walkways, that the version of that is probably the best I've ever heard. And that note that he just holds, and it just, this like tone, it's like that Spinal Tap moment. The guitar's just singing one note, and it goes for so long, and then he starts bringing the vibrato in to hold that note even longer. It's like you can't not but get, as you put it, Andrew, chicken skin, or goosebumps. It's just sensational. And the way he just cuts the note off and then comes back in. I'm sure if you're a Gary Moore fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And
Average Zeppelin. Yeah, look, I agree with you. I think the Supernatural. When I heard the Supernatural when I was a young guy, that note, suspended note that you hear was the first time, Brad. But then
yeah,
to go and hear Gary do his suspended notes, it's phenomenal. Not very many guys can do it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah. The respect that Gary has for Peter Green as well, and he could have played on that Blues for Greeny record, like overplayed. It's within Gary's capabilities to have just gone ballistic playing Peter Green stuff his way, but I think he did it pretty honestly, and kept it pure as he can for Peter Green, and he did a beautiful job on it. It's such a, I mean, I know we did a special on that album, but I'd love to readdress it at some point down the track, because every time I listen to these albums, I'm hearing different things, and there's a purity what he's trying to put on that record. He's trying to keep it pure
yep,
to the stylings of Peter Green. So
no problem, bro. I'm up for it, and I know that the Rock Professor will be too. So hey, should we flick through some of the picks that we've got? And we can have a bit of a
it's
chat about the picks, and then what we're going to do for all you guitar players out there. Brad's going to show you some guitars, and we're going to talk about some guitars, because we don't do this often on these shows. So we're going to do that if you guys want to hang out there.
yeah.
Give me a second, bro. All right.
So this is the landmark album for me. Gary's most successful record. Um, that's the back cover, and I used to sit and look at this, this album cover, all the pictures inside of all the guest performers and whatnot. But you're just looking at that guitar. That's Peter Green's guitar, and he's got the Blues Breaker CD there, which I thought was very cool. The little governor pedal on the ground there with a Blues Breaker Marshall. And I love the headphones. It's like the Walkman. That's so cool. And the old Gibson case on the floor, dirty carpet. It's album covers.
Hard Road. Hard
They
Road by John Mayall there as well.
yeah, they speak volumes. These album covers, in my opinion. There's obviously it's a hotel room or something that he's in. He's got room service stuff on the floor. He's got his phone, can of beer. Yeah. It's a very cool picture, that one, and the obviously the you know that's the back of the cover, but yeah, great album. That's obviously Gary sporting a really trendy leather jacket and the Greeny Les Paul. So that's the Peter Green one, isn't it, Andrew? That one.
Yep. G chord as well. G for
Yeah,
Greeny.
and he's got the because you Grover head tuners, the different tone and volume controls on the treble and the rhythm. Very cool, very cool. This is Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, and Gary Moore. This is that album we were talking about, and we have done a special on it, BBM. And I was only listening to this album the other day, Andrew, and I still hear new stuff in there. Beautiful, beautiful album, wonderful album, and
Wow.
how that came about was just obviously Jack and Gary were talking about writing, and they started writing. They did a couple of guest performances, and before you know it, they decided to bring Ginger in. And Gary's like, "Is that a good idea?" He was like not sure that it would work because of the history that those two have. But
Yeah.
what a wonderful album they left us with, Andrew. Wouldn't you say? That's just
Oh,
such a beautiful album.
it's a great album. I've listened to it about half a dozen times since we've done it. Again, it's another one that's on my Spotify. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a beautiful album. And that's just another promo picture. Gary looking, very cool and swagger, just trying to not look too happy. Jack Bruce has got a bit of a smile, and Ginger Baker's pulling a goofy head. So it's kind of like three personalities there. It's if anyone knows Gary Moore very well through reading about him or hearing about him, he was pedantic about tunings, perfection. It's one of the reasons why he left Thin Lizzy on tour. He just didn't turn up to a gig because he couldn't put himself on stage with the musicians that were playing at that level because they were doing other activities on the road that were taking away from the music. I love this album cover. It's like a, what do you call it? It's like a moment in time, even though it's staged, I'd say, but it's just one of those things. You can see that was Gary Moore in a nutshell, I reckon, doing these recordings. He just was in the zone, and you can see there he looks like he was in the zone. Yeah. So Derek Clacton's just that album there is the one with the one note in it. Is you've got to go and listen to this album in its entirety anyway. It's sensational, but you've got to go listen. I mean, Gary is a perfectionist. You can hear it in his playing, his singing, everything. It's hard to imagine Gary playing a wrong note, and I say that in the nicest way possible. He's not a perfectionist in the way that some technical players want to play everything note perfect. Like his solos would vary within, they wouldn't be the same every single time. But what can I say? Sensational record. That's the album cover on the front. That's I guess that's supposed to be, a picture of Gary back in the early days, playing, learning, getting his chops up, playing the blues, learning how to play guitar, and then obviously the back cover is the one Andrew showed at first, where he's still doing it, still playing the blues. But what a wonderful album. That's a great shot. That just sort of captivates everything about Gary, I think. He would throw himself into every note he was playing. And you can see that's the Greeny guitar there as well. So, yeah. Or Gary with his signature model Les Paul, which was an interesting guitar. Interesting guitar, that one. You can see he pushed himself every time he was performing, he'd pushing himself into the notes he was playing, the vibratos. Everything you're hearing was Gary just expressing himself. Peter Green, the man, one of his heroes. The story, there's a few different variations on the story on how Gary got the Greeny guitar, but the one that I think is most truthful is that he struck up a friendship through supporting supporting Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, Gary Moore I'm talking about, and then eventually he went back to his hotel room, played his guitar. They played for hours, and from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, Peter Green lent him his Les Paul, and then called him and said, "Do you like it?" And he goes, "I love it. It's sort of like the best guitar in the world." And he goes, "Well," he goes, "Do you want it?" And so he goes, the condition was he had to sell his guitar and give him the money from that guitar because he wanted that guitar to go to a good home. So there's a few variations on that story. I've heard that Gary hounded him about that guitar, but I think it was more the other way. I think it was actually Peter Green lent him the guitar to play and then baited him and said, "I want you to have the guitar." So,
There's no way that Peter Green was tricked or stumbled over to give that guitar. If anyone's familiar with any of the interviews or conversations that Peter Green has, and they're on YouTube, he talks
yep.
very clearly about how the guitar wasn't talking to him anymore. That guitar didn't speak to him anymore, and he was happy to give it away. So you're right. And we'll find out, won't we, with the new biography that I understand has been compelling in its research that is due out in November this year. So we're reaching out to that author. Cross your fingers, guys, that Brad and I and the Rock Professor might get that author on to talk about his upcoming book. So we could probably ask that question, bro. Maybe he might be able to settle it once and for all for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm really anxiously awaiting that book. That'll be fantastic, no doubt. But the other that's the Greeny guitar there. It's got a lot of character, and I believe the headstock on the guitar unfortunately got snapped off it in the back of Gary's car when he had an accident. So yeah, that's the Scars lineup. So I actually really like that album. It does sound like it's a Pro Tools session, just been mixed, but it's got some phenomenal musicianship in it, and power trio to the max. It was just sensational, and I love power trios. It's just that, Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan thing, the power trio thing. There's just something about bass, drums, guitar, vocals that there's so much space there for each instrument to breathe and have its say during the song. It's just a really good dynamic. And that Scars record, I listened to that the other day as well, and I was pleasantly surprised that I was like, I haven't listened to this for ages, and I was like, wow, man, this is Gary's playing on fire on that record as well. So, but it is a darker record, and it's got that power trio rock sort of, Scars is heavy. Yeah, Derek Clapton said, it's a lot heavier sounding for Gary, definitely. So it's not traditional blues in a sense.
So what we're going to do now, folks, is this is guitar show-off time. So we're going to get Brad. He's going to show off his Les Pauls, and then I'll flick through and give you guys a bit of a rundown on a couple of things that I've done on mine. So grab your guitar, bro. Which one do you want to grab first?
I'll grab the this is my main Les Paul. It's this guitar, Blues Alive, the VHS I had. He comes out playing Cold Day in Hell on a guitar like this, no covers on the pickups. It's like a trans amber color. Yep. It's the closest thing I could find to that guitar, but that VHS actually made me buy this guitar. That as much as I love Slash and his trans amber sort of vibe, but it was This guitar here just screamed Gary Moore to me. I just had to get it. I plugged it in, had the tone, had the whole thing. Um, I've done some mods to it. I've put some different pickups in it. It's got push pull pots for single coil tapping. I was always going to do the wiring like the Jimmy Page model, so you can in and out of
Yep.
phase. But
Yep.
to be honest with you, I don't feel like I need to do it because the variations you can get and just rolling the volumes back and everything like that in that middle position and stuff, I can get a nice nasal out of phase sort of tone. You know what I mean? It's in the ballpark. And for me, we talk about this a lot on our show, Andrew, that guitars are a tool, that you personalize them to suit you. So I feel like this is, I've had this guitar since 1999 and it's played every gig with me, bar a handful. But this guitar in particular, it's as you know, Andrew, they become part of you. The neck starts to wear for your hand. You get the little wear mark across here from where your hand arm sits on it, and the weight of this thing. You just get so used to a guitar. I mean, I can pick up brand new Les Pauls and I still want to play this. There's something unique about this guitar in particular. But this one, yeah, I purchased this one because my hero Gary Moore had one in that DVD, and I just fell in love with that guitar. Interestingly, it's not the Greeny one that I fell in love with. It's actually the one he's playing in Cold Day in Hell from the very start of the VHS, which is on YouTube, and I'm going to share that link. But that's pretty much that's my main Les Paul. That's on all my recordings. That's my baby. This one's the number one. So it's 1960 reissue. It's got a nice slim tapered neck. I just love the neck. I'm not Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't have giant hands. So this thing just is perfect. And but that's what I'm saying as well, Andrew. There's other guitars out there that Les Pauls, for example, Les Paul shapes. You don't necessarily need to buy a Gibson to fall in love with it and it become like your main guitar. And we've discussed this quite a bit, haven't we, in the past, Andrew? You can personalize the guitar, and that's what Peter Green did, and that's what all the greats do. They make the guitar their own.
Yeah, well, that's what I've done with my one here. So my guitar here is a 2019 Les Paul Traditional, and I've made a few changes to it. I've swapped out the tuners, the original tuners, and put Goto tuners on here. And only 2 weeks ago, took the pickups out, and I've got these Bethnal Green pickups in here, which come all the way from the UK, which are modelled on, according to Matt from Monty's Guitars, who managed to get his hand on the Greeny guitar before Kurt bought it and did some testing. And I've got to say it's pretty good. The pickup covers are, if you can see, they're slightly relicked as well. So I like that look, bro. Love it.
Can you isolate, Andrew?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I can do that.
No.
I'll make it a bit easier. Hold on, brother. Okay, so that's better. Okay, so that's just a 2019 Traditional.
Yep.
It's fading a bit, which is always good.
Nice.
It's fading a little bit up here as well. So I love that. But top wrapped as well, Brad. Gotta have them top wrapped. But look, I agree with you. I think one of the great things about getting a guitar, bro, is that you can make some modifications to make it just a little bit more what you want. So I took these pickups out when, the original Gibson pickups, and out of that, hold on.
That's a lovely guitar, Andrew.
Thank you, brother. And I put them in my this is a 1979 Greco, what they call an EG 850, which has got the Gibson got the Gibson pickups and also the harness as well. I took the harness, I changed the harness. I got the 50s harness, Brad, for those pickups as well. So the harness has changed. Everything's changed. The electronics completely changed. Took the electronics out and put them in here in this. So this is my Gary Moore, Petty Greeny
Yep.
tribute. Can you see the Where am I? I can't even see. Can you see the knobs there? I've changed the knobs
Yep.
as well to resemble what Gary Moore did to his one. But
Yep.
look, yeah, I agree with you, bro. I'll de-isolate myself. Um, like we were talking about before in the green room, I've had cheaper Les Paul type guitars over the years only because I couldn't afford to get a Les Paul.
Yep.
And what am I going to say? What am I going to say? If you can get one, well, probably you need to get one if you can. But you don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money to get
Yep.
into the tones that you want to make.
100%. No, I have to agree. The important thing about a guitar is, if it speaks to you when you're holding it, when you're playing it, and you do. And this may sound a little bit weird to someone who doesn't play an instrument, but you are, allowing your body to have a harmonic connection with your instrument. So as you're playing it, you become one with the instrument if you connect with it. So, you can pick up a couple of $100 guitar from a pawn shop, and it might speak volumes to you, and the neck feels great. I mean, I've got a Stratocaster that's fairly cheap. It's a Mexican one, and I'm gonna be using that on the road for my own stuff. Like when I solo shows, I'm going to be using that as my main Strat guitar because, in lieu of things that have happened recently, it's just nicer to know that you're traveling with a cheaper guitar than an expensive or sentimental value guitar. But I think you're more inclined to customize a guitar that you connect with because you don't care because you're never going to resell it. So you don't care about the resale value, whether it's a Gibson or a Fender or a knockoff. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Look, I'll never sell this. This is I wanted a guitar that looked like this because it resembled the Beano Les Paul,
Yep.
and it looked like something that Jimmy Page played, bro. I wanted to have the pick guard because that's the burning impression that I have in my mind. Made some changes. You and I spoke about this one other time when we showed our Les Pauls. This plastic bloody thing that comes with these Les Pauls. That's bad. You always my plastic thing didn't even last 6 months, bro, before I had to change it.
Exactly. That's a really big fault on Gibson's part. I think that I bought these. I bought for my stage ones that got these the metal one. It's just
Yep.
much better. But that's my other stage guitar, which is probably my number two guitar. It's
I'll isolate you, bro.
yeah,
And there's one other thing I'll always recommend from my experience. Put a bone nut in. If you got a luthier, if you got a good friend who's a luthier or something like that, a bone nut certainly makes a difference acoustically.
100%. This is my other stage Les Paul. It's a 1960 reissue. It's got I haven't done a lot to this one, but I've done the same pickups as in the other one, so that my tonality on stage is very similar if I use two Les Pauls.
Yep.
I'm a stickler for sticking to my guitar tone on stage, like as getting it as close as possible, unless you're picking up a Stratocaster or something, if that makes sense. You're going for a different tone. But so same pickups as what I put in the other one, and the push pull to single coil tap. So, and these, I've spoken about this a long time ago, like the David Bowie show I was doing or part of, had to play some single coil stuff, but the majority of the stuff was the Mick Ronson songs. So I had to play the Les Paul, but the songs would flow from, Mick Ronson into like Let's Dance and China Girl and things like that. So I didn't even have time to change guitars. And so I would just, off I go. And the tonality wise, it put me in the ballpark, if that made sense. So there's things you got to do on stage sometimes that you don't necessarily want to do, but you have to do it because honestly, no disrespect to a Fender Stratocaster, but you can't really play Mick Ronson stuff on a Stratocaster properly. It just
No.
doesn't have the tonality. The growl doesn't have it, and it sounds like you're cheapening those songs. Because I tried it, unless I was to put a humbucker in the Strat in the bridge position, then maybe it would cut it. But I'm a bit funny with Strats. I want to keep them single coil, and I want to keep a Les Paul humbucking.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't like humbuckers and Stratocasters. I,
No,
I get why guys do it. I get why they do it, but I'm a bit of a purist. You know, a Strat's got
yeah,
to have those single coils.
yeah. I think if I ever build a Strat for live performances, I'd maybe I'd buy one so it's routed out, so I could always put a pick guard with a humbucker in it if I wanted to, but I would still keep it single coil as much as possible. So
Yeah, and the good thing about what Brad and I are going to say is, you know, because we've got Gibson Les Pauls, you know, if that's something that you aspire to, that you want to get, you know, there's a lot of good deals that you can get too, bro, on second-hand Les Pauls. You know, I look at the prices, and you know they maintain a good resale value, but you can pick up something pretty good secondhand, bro. You don't necessarily need to go out and buy, you know, the latest model.
I'm a bit funny with guitars. I like to play them before I purchase them.
Me too.
I have purchased a couple of guitars through Marketplace and things like that without trying them. I bought one, and I was just fortunate that it came, and it was a nice little guitar. My main Les Paul, I'd never tried it. It was sent to me by well, I had a Gibson endorsement at the time, and I was touring, and my Gibson took a fall in the bus, in 22-seater bus. I had all the guitars were stacked up high. Brakes came on in the bus, and the guitar came flying down the middle. It landed on an angle in the case like that, landed boom on the floor and skidded on the floor. So where the body of the guitar and the neck dovetail in there,
Oh,
that joint was damaged, and I had it repaired, but the guitar never felt the same to me, and I was in tears because I absolutely loved the guitar. And then I got the guitar fixed and sold it. Obviously, when I sold it, I told them what had happened to the guitar. They bought it at a good rate, and the guy was based in North Sydney. I was in WA, Perth, over on the other side of the country. He goes, "I know you're chasing a guitar like Gary Moore's in that VHS in Blues Alive." He goes, "I've got one." I said, "Show me." He goes, No, I'm just going to send it to you." I said, "Mate, Perth to Sydney is a long way, mate. That's like an 8-hour plane ride." I said, "So you're going to send it across without me even looking at it?" He goes, "I'm going to send it to you because I know you're not going to let this guitar go anywhere else but in your hands after you've seen it." He sent it to me, and I'd never played this guitar, and ironically, it's the only guitar I feel comfortable on when I'm playing. Isn't that funny? But
I think it's fantastic, bro.
it was meant to be. It was meant to be, mate. But what I'm saying is, you can purchase reasonably good priced, knockoffs and that as well these days that are, they don't necessarily need to be Gibson. We're not snobby saying you go buy a Gibson because that's what it is. I think what I'm trying to relay to everyone, guitars like Peter Green's guitar, he sold it because he wasn't connecting with it anymore. Maybe there was other reasons why, not necessarily just because the guitar itself, but one other thing is, you pick up a guitar, you're going to resonate. It's going to resonate with you or not. That's how I see it, and it doesn't have to be an expensive guitar for that to happen.
Yeah, and it was a sad situation too that forced Gary to sell the Greeny because he was in debt because of a tour that cancelled. So he needed to earn some money to. The insurance company wouldn't pay out for an injury that he had, which sucks. So
Yeah.
he had to pay bills, bro. So what's he going to do?
Unfortunately, as sad as it sounds, he ended up only owning one Les Paul at his passing.
Yep.
So, which I'm not sure which one it was, but I think it was one that he nicknamed Stripe. So it must have been one of the ones I'm talking about that he played on that Blues Alive, which it might even be the reason I bought this one, that guitar.
Yeah. So Davey in the chat saying that he did keep Stripe.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thanks,
So,
Davey, for joining us. A new guy in the chat. Thank you, brother.
but yeah, that's the thing. Gary had to sell that guitar, unfortunately. But it just goes to show the music industry can be hard at times as well. He had to sell a guitar he would never probably sell. So,
Well,
yeah.
Kurt bought it for $2 million,
Unfortunately,
didn't he?
yeah. Well, I think he's reports, and I'm sure this will get clarified at some point. Reports is he sold it for, under $1 million, 700,000 or something like that, and then there was another report that it was like 300 odd thousand, and then the music store was trying to sell for 2 million, and I don't think Gary was very happy about that. But either way, Gary time-stamped that guitar, and Kurt Hammett now has that guitar. It's got Gary's DNA all over it. There's songs recorded with that guitar. It's a guitar within a guitar. That's how I look at it. It's something different than just a normal piece of wood, even though it's had a headstock break.
Well, the good thing about Kurt owning it, and we've discussed this before, guys, on the channel, we've done a review and picked our 5 songs on the Mick Fleetwood tribute that came out a couple of years ago. Kurt plays a very, very good version of the Green Manalishi on that gig. So the good thing about what Kurt's doing with that guitar, bro, is that he plays it. It goes on tour. Well, it was on tour with him. It's not something that's locked up in some hedge manager, fund manager's vault or hanging up on his wall, and with a guy that doesn't even know how to play a D chord.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the other thing too. You look at a guy like Joe Bonamassa. Loved Gary Moore. I mean, I think he tried for a long time to step away from that until Gary passed, I think. But sadly, we have to lose people for people to openly admit that they're into someone, which doesn't make sense. But I think when Joe Bonamassa came out, people were always aligning him with someone like Gary Moore because he was playing blues and he was playing all that stuff with those melodic blues lines and everything like that. But Joe Bonamassa is an entity within himself who's probably, if not the most successful blues artist of all time. So,
yep. And we've not done an album on him.
Yeah, we will. But, I'm surprised that guitar didn't end up, with Gary Moore's Peter Green guitar didn't end up with Joe Bonamassa. I would have thought that was a given for some reason. And I guess the wonderful thing about Joe owning all these iconic pieces of history, he actually performs with them. He plays them on stage. But you got to put things into context, Andrew. This guy has got endless amounts of money. He can get this stuff. He can buy the guitar, a first class flight on an airplane. He can afford to do that. Well, simple guys like myself playing in an 80s cover band, trusting your guitars with people on airlines, not so much a thing that I don't really feel comfortable with anymore.
Yeah.
Since my little outing last week, flying up to Northern Territory in Alice Springs, and they lost my guitar. 24 hours. So that was a hectic 24 hours. I was very anxious. I threw up a couple of times. Yeah, I was not happy. Ruined the gig for me. Ruined everything. You can just imagine if someone lost a $1 million Les Paul. because they don't understand what it is. They don't care. But so if anyone's not aware, I'm a gigging musician, and last weekend I played in a place called Alice Springs, which is at the top end of Australia, and I had to fly up. And one of my guitars just went missing for 24 hours. It didn't actually make the gig. And thankfully, I took two guitars. One turned up, one didn't. Go figure. Apparently, the guitar didn't actually leave the airport. And then as I was coming back to Melbourne, the plane that I was coming back to Melbourne on brought my guitar up to Alice Springs the day after my show. So I quickly and swiftly got the lady to reassign it back to the flight back to Melbourne, and collected my guitars, thankfully, both of them. And it's made me really reassess what guitars are going to be travelers, flight guitars, for example. And that's something that, we could do a whole episode on, Andrew, at some point. It's I have purchased a Gibson by Luthier. It's got Gibson on the headstock, Les Paul, but it's not a real Gibson, and I'm going to fly with that guitar now because I don't want to risk that ever happening to one of my sentimental valued guitars. So
awesome. John B's got a good comment here. That Fiesta Red Strat that he had, that DVD, I think it's available. The video footage, bro. The Strat Pack in celebration of Fender's 50th anniversary or something like that. He's playing it, isn't he?
And that version of Red House, if I think it's that gig I'm talking about,
yeah,
he plays Red House. That is, sorry, Jimi Hendrix fans, that's the best version of Red House I've ever heard. I mean, I love Jimi Hendrix. I love Jimi Hendrix as much as I love Gary Moore, but that's the best version of Red House I've ever heard.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
And that was a killer sounding Strat. He plays that on the Scars record a bit, so it's there on records. It's that trio thing with Scars. I know we've spoken about it a bit now, but that, I think there was a fair Hendrix influence on that record. You can hear it
big time. Yeah, Davey agrees with you. That strip was owned by Tommy Steele and, quote, was a killer.
Yeah, it was a what do you call it? It was just one of those gold Stratocasters, Yeah. John B, Red House on the Fiesta Red Strat. Yeah. That's an amazing version of Red House. I'm going to have to go and find them all on YouTube and send you the links, Andrew, so you can add them to, or if you've got them yourself, Andrew, add them in the comments later.
No problem, bro. Bro, it's been fantastic hanging out with you. I'm looking forward to the celebration show that we're going to do, bro, and we've got a few plans. We're going to give some giveaways, guys. We're humbled to have some support and see some new faces in our chat. Davey, John B. Who else was here in the chat? There was another new name in the chat, something blues guitar. So thank you very much, guys, for hanging out with us. Brad, have you got the chat up, bro? Do you want to... I've got Helen in the chat as well. Do you want to go through and say hi to everybody, bro? Can you do that?
Yeah, sure. So we've got Helen Winter. We've got John B. We have got Gretch Zeppelin. We've got Arvin in the chat. We have got John ZD351, the one and only. We've got Ellen V. That's my mum in the chat there. We've got Tim Thomas. We have got Derek Clapton. We know, Derek, that it's Eric Clapton in disguise. We know it's you, mate. You're welcome to come on the show anytime and discuss Gary Moore or Eric Clapton, whatever, anytime, mate. Open invitation. Helene O'Hara, thank you for joining us. Jazz Thunder 50, thank you very much, sir. Thanks for joining us. We have had Steve-O Snyder. We know Steve-O, so thanks for joining us. Kenneth K, my father. We have got, who else have we got in here? Blues Corner. that's who we mentioned. Andrew mentioned before, the Blues Corner. Thank you for joining us and subbing. We have got Johnny Heartbreaker. I'm not sure I mentioned you before. We had Johnny Bean, the one and only Johnny Bean. We had the one and only Fruitcake Tony in the chat. And I think I've covered everyone, Andrew, at the moment. We had Teresa in the chat as well. We had Christopher Live, Soa. So I'm not sure if I pronounced that properly, sir, but good to see you. Tim Thomas. Anyone that I've missed, I apologise, but thanks for joining us. And it's been good to catch up. I've been missing in action a little bit here and there. That it's not for the lack of wanting to be part of it. Sometimes I can't spread myself thin enough. That's all.
No problem, brother. But no, thank you for the shout out. We had Fruitcake Tony as well. Go and support Fruitcake Tony, guys. All our community pages that we support. Go to the community page after you've finished watching this and go and sub to everybody. You'll see Brad there. You'll see Alan Garber there. You'll see Hoss there. You'll see Fruitcake Tony. You'll see a young guy called Hayden Cron there. You'll see Arvin there. If you guys want to be there, let me know. Let Brad know. Let the Rock Professor know. Give us a message and we'll put your channel there. We'll help anybody do anything we can to build any channel that you guys want to be part of, because at the end of the day, Brad, it was everyone in the chat that helped us get to where we've got. So, and we want to go more. We want to go higher. We think we've got a good little team here. Certainly appreciate Brad's contribution. We're going to miss you tomorrow, bro, but we've got Jazz Thunder 50 in the chat.
Yep. Well, look, I apologise about in advance for my not being able to show up tomorrow, but you may see me in the chat if I'm around. But I'm glad we've got Jazz Thunder 50 coming on. He's the man. So it's great to have you on the show and keeping the seat warm for me. And I will see you guys next week anyway for the Sunday celebration show.
Awesome, bro. Look forward to it. We're going to be doing Bad Company Straight Shooter. Hell, that's a great record, bro.
Oh, it's a great record. Yeah, it's a great record. I'm disappointed I can't be part of it, but I'll be listening to it tonight for sure.
Oh, mate. Yeah, and we've got the 5150 show coming up at some stage too. We just got to finalise a couple of things for that. We've got, if you guys go and have a look on the channel, it says upcoming shows. You'll notice that there's one that we've got on the 5150 show with Mikey, who's been on our channel a couple of times. But we were also fortunate to secure Lewis from Fairfield Guitar Company, who's going to come on and hang out with us. He's building a reputation for coming out with period piece guitar straps that Eddie Van Halen had during the 70s and 80s. So he's got a niche little thing going on there. Reached out to Brad and I and Hoss and said, guys, we want to come on. We said, when? Come on tomorrow. He said, oh, no, we're busy for a whole month. See you in May.
No, it's wonderful. No, it's wonderful, though. But, no, we're looking forward to having you guys on the 5150 show. And, we've got some exciting stuff coming up for the Zoso show as well. So there's a lot that we've got happening. We got our irons in lots of different fires at the moment, Andrew. It feels good.
Look, I've said it before, bro. I'm super excited about where we're going to go with the Zoso show. I am super excited. We've obviously, like I said to you, bro, at the top of the show, the couple of shows that we've done certainly helped drive our subscriptions because, you just put a couple of links on some of these Led Zeppelin Facebook groups and said, look, if you guys want to help us, if you guys want to talk Led Zeppelin at any stage with us because they're active groups, I said, yeah, we'll reach out. And look what happened. We got some subs. So Led Zeppelin fans love other Led Zeppelin fans. Wow.
I was watching a show on Netflix and I forgot. Please forgive me for not remembering the name. It was a drummer Netflix program and it had a section on John Bonham in it. And my goodness, as soon as that come in, the power and energy of the footage they were showing of John Bonham was just relentless. It was like, how could you not like John Bonham if you're a drummer, and even like just guitar players like myself and yourself, Andrew. He was without a doubt one of the greatest drummers of all time. So doing the Zoso show, like the stuff on Led Zeppelin, is just it's exciting. We could do a whole episode and get drummers on to talk about Bonzo. I know a handful here in Melbourne, they're playing Zeppelin shows and this and that. Like, I know a guy who's got, an assortment, I shouldn't say how many, an assortment of Ludwig kits, including a Vista Light. He's got a maple shelled Vista Ludwig, period correct, champagne color. It's sensational sounding kit. I've played with the guy. He used to play in a blues band with me called Overload, and we used to do Zeppelin. And when he played the Vista Light, geez, it was such a loud kit. So that Madison Square Garden footage, that drum kit, my goodness, it sounded like that. It had that tone.
Awesome. I agree with you, bro. I look forward to that. Yeah, if you can get organise that. John B, of course, we do thank our moderators. Our moderators are awesome, and part and parcel of us celebrating our 1,000 subscribers. Next week, we're going to chuck out 10, maybe 15 moderator wrenches to people in the chat, so that people can say, yeah, we were part of the team building, part of the 1,000 club.
Well, and it's a credit to everyone in the chat as well that do share our channel and help spread the word, but also just for the support for coming on and being part of it when we're doing this, because we could do this without a crew. We could just sit and talk, the three of us or two of us, at any time, just like we're sitting at a pub having a beer talking about our favorite music. But it makes it far more enjoyable to have you guys on board with us and throwing the cheeky comments in. And some of the girls have their own chats about stuff that's totally off topic of what we're discussing, but they're here, so it's good support, and it's fun. It's great.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Thank you, John B. Keith Moon is up there. Absolutely. We did Who's Next. We've done a Who album, Who's Next. If you want to go back on the channel and have a look at that, we've got some more. Again, the list is endless of albums for us to do rankings on the tracks, isn't it, bro? So we're going to be here for a while. This channel ain't going anywhere. You guys have made it. The little bit of YouTube cornerisms in the YouTube world. Corner of the YouTube world.
Yeah. We rock up when we can. Maybe a bit tardy at times, but
okay, bro. We're gonna split. We're gonna cruise. Brad's got some things to do. He's got to get ready for the holiday.
I've got a gig on.
He's got the gig. I thought you were going to get ready for the holiday.
No, I've got a gig on, and we actually are going to be playing that song tonight. So, yeah.
Holiday. Hey, well, I'm not knocking the 80s, bro. She was cool in the 80s. I'm not knocking it, bro.
I know. Hey, Van Halen were part of the 80s, so it's all right.
Awesome. We're out of here. See you guys tomorrow with the Rock Professor and Jazz Thunder 50. Brad, don't get into trouble. Don't lose anything.
I'm traveling light, mate. Don't worry.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
See you guys.